Today in higher learning, federal Pell Grants have always had a special place in the hearts of Rhode Islanders. Named after the late U.S. Senator Claiborne Pell, these grants help low and middle income students realize their dream of higher education. But lately they've become a target in the budget debates. And there were concerns the debt ceiling deal would lead to deep cuts in the program. Here to talk about it is Peter Kerwin from the Rhode Island Higher Education Assistance Authority. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Michaela.
All right, so I had a question. Am I hearing right that these Pell Grants actually survived the debt ceiling debate?
They did, and I feel like I have to apologize right off the bat because I'm sure a lot of people don't even want to hear any more talk about the debt ceiling deal.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of students and college officials kind of waiting to see with bated breath what was going to happen in the debt ceiling deal in terms of financial aid programs. And thankfully, the White House posted a fact sheet on their website Sunday night when the deal got finalized, basically saying that the financial aid programs were going to be spared, you know, from cuts, significant cuts. So I mean, that's a very good thing. It's a good bit of news. Yeah. The Pell Grants are going to be given enough funding for 2012 and 2013.
That's great.
Yeah, and the thing to keep in mind is they've increased the Pell Grants in the last couple of years. When the Obama administration came in, they had a number of higher ed reforms. One of them was to increase the size of the average Pell Grant. The other was to kind of simplify the FAFSA form. They've done that. But now the federal Pell Grant is, the maximum grant is $5,550. So I mean, that's a good amount there. I mean,
yeah,
the problem is that
helpful.
to get to that, they've had to cut some other programs. They've had to cut the year-round Pell Grant. They eliminated that. They had to cut the LEAP program, which was federal funds given to the states to provide need-based financial aid. So just to get to that point, they had to make some cuts.
Right.
And now the concern's been, you know, with this debate going on, what's going to happen to the Pell Grant going forward? I mean,
yeah, in the future, what does this mean for Pell Grants?
The prognosis really isn't good, and there are a couple of factors at play here. One of them is you've got a lot of conservatives in the House who kind of feel like they've talked about cutting the Pell Grant significantly before. There are also people there who have talked about eliminating the entire Department of Education. So when you've got that kind of sentiment, add to it the structure of this debt ceiling deal. I mean, what they're going to do is cut $2.4 trillion in government spending over the next 10 years. Now, the deal is that $900 billion of that gets done right away with discretionary caps put on in terms of spending. But what's going to happen now is you've got this special committee, this super committee they're calling it, of 6 members of Congress from each party who are going to go in and try to identify the other trillion, you know, I guess it's about $2 trillion plus in cuts.
Wow.
That they've got to identify. If they don't come up with a deal by Thanksgiving, it triggers automatic cuts of $1.3 trillion, I'm sorry, for
Wow.
2013. And that can only come from defense spending, discretionary spending, which is where the Pell Grants are, and social entitlement programs, kind of like Social Security and Medicare. And the problem is, if it comes down to cutting Medicare or Social Security and cutting the Pell Grants, it's the Pell Grants that are going to take the cuts.
All right, so I guess people who do have Pell Grants need to start looking elsewhere.
Well, just be prepared. I mean, you know, hopefully it won't get cut entirely. There may be a reduction in that maximum grant, but really, for now, we're spared. But 2 years from now, it may be a different story.
All right, good things to keep in mind. Peter, thank you so much for joining
Certainly.
us, as always.
Thank you,
For
Michaela.
more information on Pell Grants from College Bound Fund, head to foxprovidence.com.